Venezuela already had 27 constitutions, for example. I mean, if you compare that to the United States, that you just have one, and you compare that to 27 constitutions, that's changing the rules of the game basically every single day. And anyone, I mean, nobody's going to invest in your country if you change the rules all the time, and if you see a politician that comes and calls expropiase, like expropriate, that's what Hugo Chavez used to do. He was going house by house and company by company saying expropriate this, expropriate, nationalize this, nationalize that, and you destroy the incentives. And you destroy the incentives of, people creating wealth. And we need to create wealth. That's the only solution to poverty, creating wealth. And if we think and we have this theory that redistributing the wealth, we're going to, end poverty. I mean, you see the history of Latin America, and you know that's definitely not the solution. The solution is creating wealth.
It seems like not just Latin America, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yes.
Sometimes I wonder to myself, okay, and certainly we've seen some indicators of this, of, basically these regimes out there working together to undermine free societies. And I guess we're kind of in this unprecedented time. Again, with coronavirus having come out, I think there's been some compelling arguments made that, it's brought out the sort of, I guess, the inner authoritarian in some people, even in free societies, right? You have the opportunity to take power. It's an opportunity. It's perhaps intoxicating. I don't know exactly how it works, right? But there's definitely been a run on liberty in almost every country in the world, right?
Yes, and when it comes to Latin America, and that was very important because we see the cooperation between these regimes. And right now, we have something that we know as the socialism of the 21st century. Because that was, from the 21st century, we saw in Latin America a wave of populists, such as Cristina Kirchner in Argentina, Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, and Lula da Silva and Dilma Rousseff in Brazil, and Bachelet in Chile. We see many of these populists working together as it's like an alliance of a big network of corruption, of corrupt politicians. And they go to, money laundering, drug trafficking, and we see that as a result and as a consequence of not doing anything with Cuba for more than 62 years. Because everything starts in Cuba. Everything starts in Cuba. Fidel Castro, he always saw Venezuela as the treasure, right? He saw Venezuela because he saw that the money was there. And once the Soviet Union fell, once the Soviet Union disappeared, he saw and he understood that he needed to get money from somewhere else, because in communism you never produce, you never generate wealth, and
because of the oil,
because
right?
of the oil,
right.
Of course.
Right.
And then he saw in Hugo Chavez the perfect caudillo, the perfect messiah, and he trained him. He trained Hugo Chavez, and he even worked with Lula da Silva, the former president and one of the most corrupt politician in the Latin American history, the former president of Brazil. Fidel Castro and Lula da Silva, they created what we know as the Foro de Sao Paulo, the Sao Paulo Forum. That is a movement of political parties that are communist and socialist in Latin America. And with this, they work as an alliance to promote these ideas and take control of Latin America. So this is not something that just happened. This is a strategy thing in that, I mean, we saw this beginning in Cuba, right? Because Fidel Castro, he always wanted to do this something bigger. He didn't want to take only Cuba. He wanted the rest of Latin America, just like Che Guevara. They wanted that. So they worked together. And when you see, for example, the case of Venezuela, they are very good friends with Iran. They are very good friends with Russia, with China. They work together with them. And they also have the support of the Islamic terrorism. They have, connections with Hezbollah, with Hamas, connections with the Marxist guerrillas from Colombia, like ELN or FARC. And this is a big network of, I mean, this is not only communism. This is communism, but this is even bigger than that, because now we see all the connections that they have. And they are destroying the entire region. And if we don't stop this, and if we don't tell the people what's going on in Cuba, what's going on in Venezuela, what's going on in Argentina, Bolivia, Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, there's another dictatorship. Daniel Ortega, I mean, he decides everything. There is no division of powers in Nicaragua, just like Cuba, just like Venezuela. Those are the three biggest dictatorships that we have right now in Latin America. And we need to keep telling people what's going on and what's happening there.
What should we be concerned about in the rest of the free world, I guess, or in America, in Canada, in Europe, right, which ostensibly are supposed to be the freest societies, right, but are seeing some kind of movement in the other direction?
Right now I see a danger when it comes to nationalism. Nationalism is one of the things that we have to be really careful about. When we see politicians creating some kind of a god of the idea of a nation, and they discriminate people, and they discriminate anyone who is different, I see that danger in the entire world, even more in Europe right now. I see national populism rising, for example, in France with Marine Le Pen, in Germany with the Alternative, and I mean, they're everywhere. They are in Spain with this political party that is called Vox. They are very nationalist, they are protectionist, and at some point, these political parties, they show themselves as liberty lovers, but right now, when we want to identify at some point the enemies of liberty, we can see them disguised as liberty lovers. And sometimes they say, yes, we like economic freedom. And when they say that they only like economic freedom, I'm always asking, and what about the other aspects of liberty? What about the individual liberties? What about the political liberties? I mean, I think you cannot divide liberty. You cannot select different aspects of liberty and decide, okay, this is what I like this liberty, but I don't like that liberty. I mean, liberty is liberty, just like D.J. McCloskey says. And if we defend liberty, and if we believe that liberty is the solution, because it is the solution. I mean, wherever you see an open society, whatever you see a free society, you see people, you see them, the population there lives better, they live longer, and they have the solutions and the innovations and all the things that we do, that we use. I mean, all the technology, the medical advances that we see today, that's all innovations that comes from the free world. I mean, I don't see anything, I don't see any invention coming from Venezuela or Cuba or what it was, from the former of the Soviet Union or North Korea. And it's not because there are not talented people there. It is because the talented people, they are waiting in lines to get some food, or they are dying from diseases, because that's what communism does to nations. Communism destroys the incentives. It destroys the most important essence of the human being, that is liberty.